Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Math 30-1, Chapter 4, Section 2, Combining Functions Algebraically, Part 1. So, right off the bat, here's a couple of functions for you to look at. f of x is equal to the square root of x minus 2, and g of x is 2x plus 1. Find the domain and range of, well, for f of x, the domain, x minus 2 has to be greater than or equal to 0. So, x is greater than or equal to 2. Now remember, that's 2 comma infinity if you write it like that. Now g of x is a linear function, y equals mx plus b, so domain should be all real. Right. Now, the range, that's a little harder. For f of x, when you plug in 2, what do you get? Well, square root of 2 minus 2, square root of 0. So y starts at 0. Now the big question is, does it get bigger or smaller? Well, this is plus, which means it opens up, so y should be greater than or equal to 0. Or 0 comma infinity. Right, now, the range, that's range. The range for g of x is y is all real. Okay, and I'm going to get picky and make that blue, because I can. All right, so that's domain and range. What's the domain and range when you combine the functions? Well, f of x plus g of x is the square root of x minus 2 plus 2x plus 1. Now you can graph that, and I encourage you to graph it. But when you're graphing it, I want you to realize there's a restriction on the original function. X is greater than or equal to minus 2. Sorry, plus 2. All right? So, what happens there? Well, you start at 2. So if you look at your table of values, zero, 1, 2, 3. Now, as I said, you can graph this, but you can do it without graphing, because what happens when x is 2? This is going to be 2 minus 2, which is 0, and 2 times 2 plus 1, which is 5. So I say my range, y starts at 5. Now, will this get bigger or will this get smaller? It will get bigger because m is 2. It means it's sloping up. Everything's positive, so it's going to get bigger. Now, if you wanted to, I could plug in the numbers, and I think 3 is 8. 1, yes, it is 8, so it's getting bigger. All right? So far, so good? Like I said, if you want to pause the recording, graph this graphically on your calculator, and we can keep it, but I'm not going to do that. Now, I want to note, just a reminder, domain and range when we're using the greater than or equal to signs. X is greater than 5, that's a curved bracket. X is greater than or equal to, that's a square bracket. Okay? So, greater than or equal to, square, greater than or less than is curved. Now, a definition you may see, explicit versus implicit. Explicit means it's written for y. Explicit equation for y means y equals. Implicit means y is in the equation, but it's not y equals. So I have seen that on the diploma. Which equation is explicit for y? Or write this explicit for y. So this equation here, 2x plus 3y equals 7, is implicit for y. To write that explicit, we have to isolate y. So minus 2x, so this is 3y equals minus 2x plus 7, divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. So y equals minus 2/3 thirds x plus 7 thirds, or now this is explicit for y. And as I said, not a big deal, but I have seen that definition, and I do want you to know it. Okay? So, moving on. F of x equals square root of x squared, square root of x minus 2, and g of x is 2x plus 1. Find the domain and range of. Well, as we were saying earlier, f of x minus f of x, this is going to be x is greater than or equal to 2. So that's going to be the domain. Right off the bat, I know that. Now, what I really should do is write out the equation. Because that's the square root of x minus 2 minus 2x minus 1. So what's going to happen here? We plug in 2. And once again, if you want to graph this, graph it. I'm certainly fine with that. We plug in 2. 2 times 2 minus 2 is 0, so that would be minus 5. And what happens here? This is negative, which means it gets smaller, so y is going to be less than or equal to minus 5. Now, if you don't believe me, that's fine. You have the graph, you have a graphing calculator, and you have an equation. Graph it, please. Okay? So pause the recording, graph it. When you see that I'm right, come on back. All right, welcome back. Now, moving on. Oh, you poopy stuff. That f of x times g of x. Okay, f of x times g of x. Ooh, now we have to do some thinking. Oh, note this is a solid dot. That means multiplication. Yes, a hollow dot means something else. So if you're looking at some notes or go online, you might see a hollow dot. That means something different. Now, this is the square root of x minus 2 times 2x plus 1. Okay. Oh, sorry. My apologies. Getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry. Stop. You might see this written as f of g of x. Sorry. My apologies. I'm getting ahead of myself. Gee, Mary and Joseph. No, I'm sorry. Oh, f not g. I'm sorry. Forgive me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm getting old. That's tomorrow's lesson. So this is, I'm going to stop now because it's embarrassing. This is f of x times g of x, or f times g of x. Square root of x minus 2 times 2x plus 1. All right? Now, like I said, I got that right because this is embarrassing. Now I know right off the bat, domain, x is greater than or equal to 2. Now, what's my range? Well, that's the confusing part. Do you think about it for a minute? Plug in x equals 2. This becomes 0. What's 0 times anything? 0. So y is starting at 0. Is it getting bigger or smaller? I think it's getting bigger. All right? Now, I might be wrong, so I want you to pause the recording and I want you to graph this. And you should see that the graph starts at x equals 2 and y equals 0 and goes up. Okay? Now, I'm actually going to stop the domain, I'm going to pause here because the video is getting kind of long. Then we're going to go on and do division. All right? So, if you got any questions, shoot me an email. Otherwise, graph this, and good luck. I'll see you in the next video.